Alright, 51-20, top tier, and pretty much similar comps on both sides. And you can really go either way. I lost my cursor. Oh, there we go. You can really go either way on this map. I typically have been playing the east. You can play the west. The west seems a little bit more tunnely. There's like a lot of little places where you can cut through the back, but it's not really that advantageous for most squishy tanks. It seems more for heavier tanks. It seems like the squishy tanks typically have an easier time going east on this map. Excuse me. But you're going west, and that is fine. It all depends on what you do when you get there. So you look at your team, most of your team has gone east. You got a 704 over here, so that all of your 9s are on the west now. So even though you have a lot of tanks on the east, you have to keep an eye on what's going to happen to them. Especially since you haven't really seen anything yet. You don't really have much eyes over here. Lorraine's not really much of a scout tank. You're not really much of a scout tank. Tiger 1, definitely not much of a scout tank. You got KV5 that's going up the 3 line. So we'll see. And so what you want to avoid is situations like this. Like if there's a tank over there, like let's say the E75 pops out over there, that's kind of the situation you want to avoid, because if he's hauled down behind that little pile of rubble, you're going to have problems going penny through him, and he's going to be able to shoot either of you guys without essentially aiming. And so the other thing is that the longer that you sit here, right, see how far back your team is over here? So you kind of have to keep an eye on that, because they're not really going to spot anything until they're all the way up on them. No, Roomba. So you're gonna see how your IS-3 is pushing through over here. So from the position that you're at, and see how he's getting flanked now, you have to start seeing that. Like your Lorraine friend, he should be looking to his left. See how he's looking to the right right now? He should be looking the other way. Well, and you have the E100, I'm sorry, the 5100 gun on this too. So you need to get over here so you can get back to that lane. Because they've come through over here. So they've got you, see how they've got you sort of encircled here? There's a lot of buildings on the way here, which is advantageous to you. But positionally, they have superior position, especially if this Lorraine could get around to this flank, to the backside of this. That's going to create problems for you guys. So you have to start, from where you're at right now, particularly since you're in a long reload, look at the team, think about what you want to do. Look at what's happening to you right now and decide whether that's good or bad. If this Lorraine gets around to this backside, he's going to be able to obliterate that Tiger 1. Right? They've got enough forces on this flank that it's going to create problems for you. And you got to stop missing shots. You can theoretically shoot him through there, but that's a pretty low percent shot. So you're going to get shot a couple of times going through here, and the problem is that you're not really going to benefit that much. You can go wide and shoot him. So it probably would have been a better play to come over here and to prevent these guys from going around, but now that this side is technically weaker, you might be better off going over there. You can shoot through that wall. If you keep the T-34 between you and the ISU, that's exactly what you want. Perfect. No, you can shoot him. He can't shoot you from where he's at without coming around, right? Because he doesn't have a turret. Oh, you're reloading. I didn't notice that. That's probably a bigger problem. So at this point, again, you're in a long reload. There's nothing stopping you from changing your position, going around over on that side. You want to try to make it easier for your Lorraine buddy, because he's one shot. That ISU could just own him. The Tiger 1 is pushing the ISU.
It's a trap!
So they were kind of oblivious over here. It took them a long time to kill your Tiger 1, but they were able to do it, and that's fine. You're actually better off just abandoning these guys. Clean this up. You have the speed, right? Between the Lorraine and the 5120, you have the speed to clean this up and then come back if they push to cap. What you don't want to do is try to take these guys on frontally.
It's a trap!
Push through, push through. You want to get through to the backside here as quickly as you can, because it's only a matter of time. Because eventually these guys are going to figure out that they're never going to be able to catch up to you, and then they're going to turn around. And then once they're going that other way, then it's going to be a lot easier for them. The other thing is that your team over here, right, you had a lot of 8s over here, but they were faced against an inferior force, right? They had a lot of their big guns over here, right? The ISU, Roomba, E75. What else do they have over here? I can't think what else they have. Anyhow, so if you can get to the backside of these guys, particularly that JT, you should be able to hit on that.
It's a trap!
And you want to shoot the drive wheel there so he doesn't get away. It's fine, your Lorraine friend shot him. You still want to, the guy was unable to take out the 150i50, so you should probably try to do that as well. You have to be careful in the reload at this point, because now, right, you're then whittled down on this side already. Nice, Lorraine was able to take out the JT. So Lorraine was headed this way, so I don't know where he's at now, but he might be down in the little valley over there.
It's a trap!
Oh, KV-13. Ah! Like, if the KV-13 was reloaded, he could have shot you then. And so you're never gonna. This is the same situation, just in reverse. You're never gonna catch the Wheezy, so you should concern yourself with what you're doing on the rest of the map. In particular, like you should figure out where that 15550 went. Oh, apparently he's over on the other side of the map.
It's a trap!
Rut row. Yep, just drive wheel him. Perfect. Lol. That was a perfect job there. You should actually, so again, long reload, right? You've got like a 50-second reload or whatever. I don't remember what it is for the 5120. It's probably shorter than that with the 5100 gun. But so you have plenty of time though, so you can go all the way around this side and be someplace where they're not necessarily expecting you to be.
It's a trap!
Lol. Now the jig is up. They know where you're at. So again, at this point, you've got plenty of time. You can go ahead and relocate around over here, come back around through this side. And you always, I always like to relocate. I don't like to be from the same area unless there's some sort of time constraint. Because if you're the Roomba, you have to think that the most likely path is to come up through there. So what I would do is I would be on that corner right there so I could see down that lane. And so one of the things is, particularly when you're like 1-on-2 sort of situations there, you kind of you don't want to be too still.
It's a trap!
Unfortunately, that was the worst thing that could have happened. Anyways, as I was saying, you don't want to be too still. You want to actually move laterally one way or the other. Like if they're in front of you, you want to move to the side and then move forward to sort of tack around them. No.
It's a trap!
And then like what I would do is I would start driving forward here and pretending like I was gonna go around that corner, and then when I drop light, I would turn around and go the other way. This is a precarious corner because there's not a whole lot to do if he's just sitting there. Oh, he's looking the wrong way.
It's a trap!
Nice. So early game, like I thought you took up not an ideal position for the tanks that you were in, both the Lorraine and the 5120. You guys didn't really get very good shots or anything. I mean, that Roomba literally drove across the street in front of you. And part of the reason why you didn't get good shots is because the Lorraine was blocking you, but you still weren't going to get very good shots at there no matter really what was there. And then you saw that they were flanking you, particularly when you're in long reloads. Look around and try to figure out what you're going to be able to do, especially if you're in a somewhat precarious position and you know you're about to go into a long reload. Right, so they had these quadrants right here, right? They had you shaped in this like little L position right here, and you guys were in like this D2-ish area, D1, D2-ish area. And so when they sort of start getting that contain on you, what you want to do if you know you're going into a 40-second reload, start heading back. I mean, unless there's some reason why you need your health up here, start getting back so that if that pocket collapses on you, you're not surrounded in the middle of a long reload. Otherwise, I thought you did a good job. And so these are the stats. And for the most part, it was okay. The tank is actually much better once you get the 50B gun. It's only a 4-shell clip, and I think it's like they nerfed the inter-chamber time to like 3 seconds now or something like that. So it's a long inter-chamber clip, but it's still really, really good because of the base pen on that. And so highly recommend. Anyhow, GG. Oh, is it 3.33? Wow, that's horrible. It used to, I want to say it was like 2.5, or maybe it was 3, and they moved it up to, because what the 50B is like 2.5 now, right? But the 50B was 2.5 before, and then they nerfed it to 3 or something like that, and then they said, wow, it's a really awful tank now, and so they moved it back to 2.5 or something. Oh man, a Stug game. See, this is what happens when people don't link enough replays. We have to watch a Stug game. Ooh, tier 5 and a tier 7 on Sand River. Sand River is actually not that horrible, particularly if you look at in encounter mode for this. This is an assault, but there's actually a lot of decent hills for an altered tank destroyer to sit on. Particularly there's no artillery. But so tank destroyer, you can go over here. I don't necessarily think that's best, especially in a bottom tier game. I would not go over here. It's probably best to actually start out coming over on this side and see what your team does. Like this hill that you're on right now is actually a decent one to sit on until you see where your guys go. On assault, you generally can control this part of the map, and what ends up happening is that they camp in these hills right here for most of the game. And so if they're gonna, what generally ends up happening is like see how this ELC is spotting here. That's actually a really good job. You don't want to move up to this hill in the Stug because you'll be lit there, but you can sit back on a lot of these hills and you'll get better shots. Because what you need right now is a little bit of elevation. You're kind of in this dip right here. So if you can get back up over there, that's great. Even if you get to this little ridge right there, that difference in elevation will give you better shots on a lot of these tanks. And so they've moved up over here as well, so that's something that you need to keep an eye on. So like if you look at my mod, so this orange dotted line, basically if there's a tank within this orange dotted line, theoretically it can spot you. So a lot of times, position-wise, I'll look at the mini-map and I'll try to make sure that that orange dotted line is outside of where tanks, scout tanks normally go. So like if I wanted to drive along, and not if I knew there was somebody on this ridge, and I would try to drive someplace. This is a small map, so it's kind of hard to demonstrate. But I would drive someplace where that circle wasn't going to cross where I thought I might be spotted from. Shooting. So see how all of your guys are on this column right here. What's actually interesting is that you can theoretically start. You've cleared out most of this area over here. That M6 is probably tucked into that corner right there, which is going to be difficult for you to shoot, even if he even if he does get spotted, which he's not really. The ELC started to turn his attention, and this is one of those things. See how you're staring over here? You're staring into an area that nobody is trying to light, and so that's one of the things. Although miraculously a T-37 appeared, but that T-37 is probably not going to push up there. So the interesting thing is that if you're like right here, you can be, it's right about right there. You can be below the ridge line where these guys over on this side won't be able to shoot you. But see how this Tiger 1 is pushing up onto this plateau over here? If he goes up to shoot these guys down here, which eventually he will, or somebody will, you'll be able to get shots into him. Lol. That is unfortunate. 12 health. Yeah, and so now you're in a precarious position because there's not really an easy way to get out of there without one of those 3 tanks dying. But your team hasn't died over on this side yet. The reason why I think that they're going to die is mostly because of the position. So you're basically pushing through a valley on this 0 line, and then you have to crest a hill, and then they've got guys in basically defensive positions there to catch that. So basically these guys are more or less driving into an alley where they're going to get shot. But so, especially right now when there's only the M6, drive over here and you'll get shots on this Tiger. Like that M6 is pretty inconsequential to the game right now, especially since you've got 3 guys driving up there. They should be able to handle an M6. Whereas these guys, again, I think that they're in a much more precarious position. They could really use help. Like, that guy's gonna die whether you deal damage to him or not. And at least your guys aren't pressing the situation on the 0 line, so it's okay in that sense. See where your Type 58 went in to flank? That's actually a really good spot as well. He was able to get in there because they left that entire side open, and that's one of the things that I was trying to say is that if you can get up here, you can get shots in. Like you can. Doink. Yeah, I'm not entirely certain that you're going to get a shot on the Sherman. Anyways, the point is that you did a good job of shooting, but there were a couple of times where you're staring off into space, waiting for something that's never going to happen. Particularly if you're in a tank that has to play second line in a match that you're in. Pay attention to what your guys are doing. Like that ELC, like you should buy that ELC a beer because he did a lot of spotting for you. He made it easy for you to shoot things for the most part. And then once he started paying attention to this side, you always want to try to be in a position where once you guys whittled down this side, once that T-37 was dead, once that Chafee was dead, there was only that M6 that was hiding in this corner. You didn't really need your attention. And if your team had been a little bit more aggressive, or their team had been a little bit more aggressive on the east, that might have turned into a situation where that could have gotten out of control. It didn't, so that's great. But there was a lot of times where you were just sitting here waiting for a shot that literally was not going to be lit for some time. And so it's one of those things where if you see your lights going off someplace else, don't sit there and wait. Just go and find someplace where you can still be involved. And if that worked, I think that worked. Yeah, looks like that worked. So these are the stats for that game. So you kind of steamrolled them, ish. They didn't do a very good job, particularly on the east, but you did a good job of making your shots count, and that's a large part of this game, particularly when you're playing second line. A lot of people have problems sniping from second line tanks, but again, you did a pretty good job there. Again, the only thing that I would say is just make sure that you're always in a position to do something based upon what your team is doing. But GG, good job.